Wolfpack, what's going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with the Week 14 playoffs rankings. The semis are here. The lineup decisions are that much more crucial. You can't get them wrong because it's now do or die time for the majority of you out there. So I'm going to set right now here live my rankings, give you my thought process, look at the matchup analysis, all that good stuff to make sure you are the most prepared you could possibly be heading into your playoff time, Wolfpack. So, of course, any early start decisions you're weighing, if you have waiver wire moves, you got to deliberate, whether Ty Johnson, how much do I spend, or try to prioritize player X or Z. Let me know. I'm here to help you out live. And also, of course, if you're catching the replay, hit us in the comments or find me at Roto Street Wolf on Twitter to help us out. And of course, any thumbs up buttons you're willing to hit on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, wherever you're tuned in, that helps us get out to more people. Thank you so much, Wolfpack. Let us now bring in my rankings here. Share screen. Boom. Oh, I think I have it. Yeah, there it is. So let me just pull that on in. And again, get your questions in as the rankings pop up here. Bam. All righty. So as you can see, we're going to start with quarterbacks as we do every single week on the rankings rundown, typically at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry, a little late today. But let's start at the top. We got Russell Wilson, Rodgers. I'm gonna bump Russell Wilson down. I mean, how is he the number one in the ECR after these last few weeks? Legitimately has been nothing. They've gone right back to the run, heavy attack that we all hated. It's no longer that just touchdown bonanza. I think I want to say it was 13% touchdown rate early on in the season for Russell Wilson on his throws, and now it's down to like 3 or 4 because they're just not airing it out like they were. Russ is no longer cooking, and I have no interest in that. I'm going to go with the guys that are dominating right now at the top, and that's Mahomes, that's Rodgers. I don't know how anybody can't have Mahomes at the top. It has to be him, no matter what. But Rodgers, a close second in my opinion. Just money, absolute money. Now gets a divisional opponent, the Detroit Lions. He's been rock solid against them all the time, but every divisional opponent this year, I think they're averaging like 30-something, 35 points per game against divisional opponents. It's unbelievable. So Rodgers cooking right now. Ryan Tannehill, who we were higher on last week, gets yet another cakewalk. The one worry here is this could be the Derrick Henry show. And so I'm not going to have him above Herbert. I know Herbert. I mean, trust me. Oh, do I know how much Herbert fucking ruined leagues last week? I personally had him in my 2 win and go homes, winning in or losing go homes. And I fucking lost them both because Herbert got me 5 fucking points. The pizza fucking asshole face, little middle schooler. I don't want to speak too badly about him because he's been a great guy in terms of carrying me there. But man, when I needed him most, fuck. But if you made it into the semis, if you have Herbert and you somehow still stayed alive despite that embarrassing performance, Atlanta's the perfect get right spot. The most points allowed to fantasy quarterbacks on the year. They're just abysmal. We all know that you don't need me to spell out how bad they are. Russell Wilson at the Jets seems like a smash spot, but similar to Tannehill, it's like they can just bleed that clock with the run game all the time. They will. I think Kyler Murray's going to be starting to round into form. I'd like to see what Lamar looks like tonight. If we see, old school last year Lamar, he could go up as number 3. The Cleveland matchup's a good one. They give up a ton of points, especially since losing Denzel Ward. That secondary is just a joke. So that could be a solid spot for Lamar against Cleveland. But we got to see how he looks tonight, returning from COVID. It's also crazy. We're talking about Tuesday football here. He's got to return tonight. Who knows what this year has become. But yeah, this seems about right. It did seem like Watson, almost 350 yards without Fuller. Like his passing game wasn't all that crush. Kiki Cutie really stepped up here. Chicago is a tough matchup, but I like that spot. I got to put Brady in here. And honestly, Josh Allen, he's matchup proof, guys. We can't worry about Josh Allen. Pittsburgh, I'm not worried about. San Fran was supposedly a good defense, and he just carved them on up. So that's going to be a great game. Sunday night primetime. I think Josh Allen, he's got that it factor, man. He's got it this year. So I'm all about him in that spot. And then maybe Taysom Hill to round out the quarterback ones as I make my tiers. You guys are likely well aware, but tier 1, the gods, the elites. Tier 2, the quality quarterback ones with some serious upside. I think Taysom Hill belongs in there. We'll see how fired up that Philly team is by Jalen Hurts, who we got to now rank as well. I mean, Big Ben against Buffalo. That's not a good pasty at all. In fact, I like Ben in a game that's probably going to require him to really do some damage. I think we could get one of Big Ben's best efforts. Like, I love Tannehill, don't get me wrong, but I really think that soft matchup could work against him. And I just think Russell Wilson is the number one quarterback is ridiculously overrated. He could just also go for 50. Like, that could happen. But I think both those guys, like, easy matchups, yes. In fact, we didn't even, pull this in, the quarterback points against, which we love to always show you guys. If these advertisements would just get out of the way. Here we go. So, yeah, as you can see, Falcons, Seahawks, Jets. So, I mean, that could be, dare I say, a Sam Darnold day against the Seahawks, the Jags. So, Tannehill, I mean, in a great spot. I don't want to underscore these guys. That's a tricky part of this is how do you play these easy matchups? Does it become a bleed the clock game for two teams that would love to bleed the clock? The Titans on the other side for the Jags. So, some games with some shit and some great offense that could all just blend into a high-scoring affairs all around. Chargers giving up a bunch, so Matty Ice in a good spot with his full weaponry. Big Ben, as we said, the Browns with Lamar. Like, a lot of quarterbacks have a lot of great matchups this week. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, the Lions, nothing threatening there. In terms of the toughest matchups, your Steelers for Josh Allen, tough. But I think he could really ball out and rise to the occasion. The Saints, the Rams, also very difficult matchups. Tough call for Jalen Hurts in his first start. The Rams facing off this week with the Pats. Cam Newton, you're not really considering at this point, too inconsistent. Your Colts and your Pats round out those bottom matchups. And the Colts, who does Philly Rivs have this weekend? The Raiders, yeah. Carr, yeah, he was the high-scoring quarterback last week. That was against the Jets. We can't expect that to happen yet again. So let's get through some of these. I feel like the tier, like there is still like a really high upside quarterback one and then like the remaining QB ones. Because I like a lot of these guys. I'm not going to have Mitch Trubisky, no matter the matchup, in there. I mean, the guy can rack up fantasy points like the best of them. See, I love Matt Ryan against the Chargers, but I think Stafford, 400 yards against a tough Chicago defense. First game without the slug Jabba the Hutt, fucking Matt Patricia hanging over him. I mean, it's no coincidence that it was his highest yards per attempt of the season. So I already put Salt in there, by the way. And then I like, I like Stafford now in an even easier matchup in a game that should shoot out. I wonder what his price is going to be on DraftKings. Galladay could be returning. Swift could be returning. Great spot for him. Absolutely into that one. And last but not least, let's see here. The QB2s, rounding out these rankings. I like Trubisky in that soft matchup. I think Kirk is going to have to sling, and he's been, I think the third most fantasy points over the last 5 weeks. He's been getting after it. I mean, just the Konami upside of Jalen Hurts, I think, makes him a more intriguing starter than a lot of these peeps. And Betty Bridge. I can't believe I said peeps. I'm a little bit out of Wolfpack. I got to admit, I had, as you heard with Herbert, a devastating loss. Fucking heartbreaker. So you plow through and you do the rankings for you guys because I love you. And I top 20 in the competition. Need to keep that turf defended. But it's this is probably the most gut wrenching rankings show. Right off the loss that I just felt so good about too. That league. Fuck. So we plow through for you, Pack. We plow through for you. Of these matchups, I mean, I don't. The QB2s get ugly. They do. I might just keep cooking with Baker at this point. Somebody I would never typically rank this high, but he's slinging. And that Tennessee defense is inviting, but he really was chucking it around the yard. I'm going to assume Daniel Jones is back. So let's rank him as he is. Let's get rid of some of these guys that aren't playing. So, yeah, we're back to 32 quarterbacks. No bye weeks at this point, Wolfpack. I like Daniel Jones against Arizona, assuming he's in. So you got a lot of quality QB2 options here, with Jalen Hurts being one of the more available ones for two QBers and all that good stuff. All right, Wolfpack, I'm going to load up the running backs, and while I do that, I'd love to address any questions you have. I'll pull up the running back points against as well as that's loading. There's some great running back spots this week, though. So let's hear what we got here. What's going on, Sarno? Good to see you. Hope all is well, brother. Is Japan Hurts? Jalen Hurts, I imagine. K Cool Whip. 2 QB league. I was thinking about dropping AB. I think he's definitely worth a pickup. I still want to see what AB does, and their schedule, the Bucs, is just delicious down the stretch. So, Cool Whip, I mean, is there anyone else you can drop? Because I do think Jalen and Japan Hurts is worth a pickup for sure. Anybody that can run at quarterback is worth a pickup. And then he's got a great arm. I mean, you saw that touchdown he delivered. He made a couple great breadbasket throws. Like, I think he could be the real deal. This is not a great matchup to start, but 2 QBers, I mean, like, this is the rushing upside alone is well worth it. Mitch, what's going on, brother? I got to text you, by the way. I just saw your message earlier today, right where I was going live. I will get back to you. Thank you for that. I'm excited to chat some further today, Mitch, and good to see you as it always is. Is Gibson's healthy to play? Which 2 of these do I play? So one already, I'm not a doctor. I have no clue what his stats will be, but I do know a toe injury is never something you like. Neither is a hamstring. The hamstring, just because it could flare up at any point, and that's brutal. But the toe, so much of what he does is the change of direction, the acceleration. Like, I mean, a toe impacts everybody, but the players, like, that's his type of skill set, So it's probably going to be tough to recommend him. Let's see what you got, though. Gibson, Godwin, and Lockett. I mean, a few other booms or busts. This one's going to come down, Mitch. You know it. I know you'll be around with us this week. We will keep breaking this one down for you. My gut as of today, if I had to make the call, would be sitting Gibson, because I just can't trust that toe. But if the reports are encouraging, he's good to go. It's not anything overly serious. They played it safe and it's good. Well, then Gibson's the top option here. So we shall get there. I think Lockett is locked in here either way. But then Godwin gets Minnesota too. So you got some juicy matchups for those receivers, Mitch. With the questions on Gibson, like that, it's probably worth the 2 receivers as of right now. All righty, Craig. I was going to back into a bye. Then my competition has Deontay versus Juju. Yeah, that's brutal. Down 20 with Allen going against Gibson. Yes, you got it, dude. At least one of us fucking had the luck on our sides, Craig. I had the opposite end of that. I had the Gibson and all that good stuff. But congrats, brother. Take on that bye. Take a nice week. Get the mental stress off of it. I'd enjoy it. Bailey Fields. Thoughts on Robert Woods and Mike Evans rest of season? Loving the target share for Robert Woods. I mean, insane. It's going to be 10 plus every single week. Tough matchup against New England, but then you got a couple nice ones for his playoff stretch. Nothing to dislike about him. Then Mike Evans, I mean, it's a congested spot, but he is like a goal line running back because of how good he is in the red zone with Tom Brady on a team, with the matchups, the calendar they have coming up. I think it's going to be a lot of touchdowns for Evans. And starting with Minnesota this week, they could just absolutely light that team up. And fresh off the bye week, Brady should be fired up. That's going to be a fun game to target, in my opinion. So yeah, I like Evans a lot this week, and rest of season too. Bailey Fields, what's going on, Juan? 10-3, love to hear it. At least some of you guys are working out here. I didn't know you're from Framingham, Massachusetts guy, brother. Did you know somebody that works with us at RSJ? How did you find us? Like, what led you to us, Juan? But I love our local Massachusetts guys. Gibson crushed me. Yep, exactly. Mike Clay, we're in the same exact spot. Gibson killed me. Went from first to second seed because of the injury too. Oh, you still got the buys. Enough of your shit. You're bitching about first world problems, first world fantasy problems. Losses always hurt worse than the wins feel good. It's true. Trust me. After going back to back high score in my league, looking like I was cooking, Mike. It is the worst feeling today having those losses hit. But all right, Wolfpack, I will continue to get to those questions. I do want to start hitting your running backs, and man, is it a juicy slate for your running backs. You got Detroit at the top. Aaron Jones is about to pulverize them. For your Texans, David Montgomery on a hot streak. Is it more matchup proof? I mean, matchup based, yes. Is the Houston Texans another great matchup? Absolutely. Most rushing yards allowed in the league. I think you got another 100-yard, 1 to 2 TD day in the works for David Montgomery here. Packers, though, right on the other side. So if we get Swift back, otherwise AP is cooking 2 touchdowns last week. He'd be a top 20 play. Should he be the lone guy against the Packers or Raiders? Obviously, a joke of a defense to running backs. I mean, Ty Johnson just had, 100 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Will Beck, too. If you don't mind giving it that thumbs up, too, if you haven't already. Should have asked for that during the questions. My fault to interrupt this analysis, but that thumbs up button does help us get out there so much. The Titans, the Cowboys, also joke matchups. The Titans getting James Robinson. He should eat. The Cowboys, who do the Cowboys have next week? Zeke matchup with Cincy. I mean, Gio Bernard could be in a nice rebound spot after a bunch of quiet weeks, but that offense as a whole is something I'm trying to avoid. Your Bills have also been generous, as have the Panthers, but they've been stingy as of late. So not quite the matchup they once were. One of the best defensive matchups, to be honest. And then you got San Fran, Cleveland, Chicago, Miami, Jets, surprisingly, one of the harder defenses for running backs. That's kind of shocking to me, to be honest. And Colts, Jets are better in terms of fantasy points. That can't be right. There you go. Saints, Bucks, Steelers. There you go. I had the filter off. Rams and the football team are your top matchups for your back. So let's get into some of these guys. You got McCaffrey returning. Last time he was back, he saw like 30 touches, 10 targets. I mean, insane. But I think Henry at Jacksonville, it makes sense. There's nothing you could do about that one. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like this elite group here. I think Aaron Jones over McCaffrey, just in case they take it a little easy. You got Detroit, the most points allowed. Aaron Jones is going to go berserk. Like, that's a guarantee. I do think James Robinson, a lock to go berserk. Tampa Bay for Dalvin is obviously, the second fewest points allowed, but Dalvin's Dalvin. And that's something you just can't overly fret, in my opinion. But I do think these guys form like a big five. I'm trying to think of Dalvin versus Robinson. I love Robinson against Tennessee this week. I think he's going to go wild. I think Chubb, Baltimore, tough, sure. We saw Damian Harris run for, 200 yards on this team. This guy is as tough as they fucking come, Nick Chubb. Absolute monster. So I'm into him. I think Carson, smash spot. This seems about right here. I mean, this is the spot for Zeke to get it right. Cincinnati giving up, I think, the third most rushing yards on the ground this year. Where are we at? Sorry for that little tech glitch there. But yeah, overall, not the most generous. And we saw down here, I guess the Jets are actually surprisingly stingy. Not as well as it looked originally, though. I think Myles Gaskin's just such a workhorse. But then you got Jonathan Taylor facing off against the Raiders, that team we were saying the fourth most points allowed. And Zeke's no lock. Like, I'm going to keep him out of here. I'm going to put Kamara back. And I'd say Zeke right here, RB15 right below Gaskin, but starting off the like your elite horses, your RB1s, your last ditch RB1s, ideally an RB2. Let's see what Dobbins does tonight, but I have a pretty good feeling he's going to keep this shit rolling. So let's go Dobbins. Arizona, nothing too scary for Wayne Gallman, who's been an absolute monster. Keep looking through here. I mean, I got to have Mostert above Hunt. You had a good spot for Melvin Gordon. Season high rushing yards looked phenomenal. Let's be real. I think Melvin Gordon should get a nice, but the Broncos offense is just such trash. Such trash. But yeah, this seems about right for your quality RB2 tier. It does drop off fast at running backs. And now we're at your last potential usables. I'm going to bump, even in a shit offense, Gio Bernard up. Dallas is a good get right spot. I think we could get back to one of those 15 to 20 point Gio days. I think Akers, 21 of the 28 carries, but 57 of the 80 snaps. Great spot for him. Drake, though, I'm going to keep rolling him. He's got to – Drake belongs – why would people not trusting Drake after what he's been doing these last few weeks? You got to. He's getting that goal line work with Murray banged up, so I feel good about him for sure. Do not feel good about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Miles Sanders. Oh, two of the bigger busts of the year. I mean, Ty Johnson, if you're starter, do I have him above Miles Sanders? Probably. Maybe that offense gets right with Jalen Hurts. I mean, Sanders is so talented. I can't have him below like Gio Bernard, but it's ugly. It's ugly. New Orleans is one of the top, if not, it's the hardest run D in the league. I would say, so let's rank Swift as if he's in. If he's in, he's right here. If Swift's in. Green Bay's that bad, he's that good. There's also the rumblings that he's not the player he once was. He's not like there with it right now, which is terrifying, and you hope for a speedy recovery. But if that's the case, then Adrian Peterson would be, above Mostert now. It's splitting time with Jeff frickin' Wilson. So I'm going to rank both those guys pretty high here, and we'll see how the situation plays out. But a running back for the Lions is going to do a great job this week. And then we got, I think, Jamal Williams against this team. Detroit's giving up that most points, and they'll be putting in their seconds. So, yeah, I like him. I think McKissick has to get a bump up, particularly with Gibson out. I mean, he becomes a target hog. I would say he's up here, 10 catches last night. Insane. And then I think James Conner was very close to coming back. So let's rank him as if he is back. Say like right around 20 because there is some risk right now. Like, is he going to be good? Is he fully healthy? But Buffalo's not a bad matchup if he's in. And they're trying to run it in. They just fucking suck. Benny Snell, more specifically, sucks. And then from there, James White, I have a feeling this would be more of a White game this week. Tough up the gut, great on receivers, could be some good receiving work coming for James White. I'm not assuming Jacobs plays after he didn't practice all week, so let's rank Booker as if Jacobs is out. He's pretty appropriately ranked here at 38. What a bag of trash performance from him. I do think Gurley, the Chargers are not that hard of a matchup. So, like, as bad as he's been, he should be okay. I'd rather have Gurley in than freaking Helaire. This seems about right. Yeah, I guess I'm a little lower on Harris. Like I just said, I think it's going to be a James White week. Did that fumble for Moss, is that going to linger into future games, or is that just a benching of one week? Who knows? We will find out. But these are your last ditch guys. I think Minnesota, they might pass a bit more. So Fournette would be more the preferred play. I guess I'm a little low on Murray, given how involved he's been with Taysom Hill. I'm going to call these like your last ditch starters. Is there anyone down here that belongs on that list? Barber, if Gibson's out, which it's looking like he probably will be. Well, X out of him. So, yeah, these are like your last ditch. Up to 41 running backs, though. There's certainly streamers available this week. Ty Johnson, the top 30 running back out there in every league right now. I thought I was moving Gurley up. Where did I put him? Yeah, this is actually, that's kind of where he fits. Maybe above Akers. All righty. So that's what I got for running backs. What do we got for your questions while I load receivers? All righty, what do we got here? Do you think Claypool went down to a wide receiver 3 or 4? That wasn't great, and it goes to show, Juan, like, it's tough to know how those targets are going to go outside of Deontay Johnson's always going to have it. So yeah, I think it's tricky, but he's still so explosive, and it just takes one big play. And that was a tough matchup. I mean, Washington's given up the second fewest to receivers. So I'm not overly panicking, Juan, but it didn't help. I mean, James Washington was more involved. Gibson definitely ain't playing this week. I agree, Mike. I wouldn't expect to see him at all. Should I start Landry over Claypool or Juju? Ooh. I mean, he's been cooking, but he's also had two of the easiest possible matchups you can have, Juan. As you can see here, the Jags and the Titans both bottom 10 in fantasy points allowed. Cowboys have taken over for the Seahawks for most points allowed. Maybe Marquise Brown can get cooking tonight. But yeah, as you can see, Vikings, Seahawks. So we'll go through that in a second. But yeah, the way he's cooking, I think you could bench, I would say Juju over Claypool, but that's tough. I would say get one of those guys on the bench instead of playing two Steelers. The Buffalo matchup's nice, though. But Elliott, Dobbins, or M. Brown tonight. I need 12 points to get in. Oh, Terrell, you're going to put this one on me? That's tough. I mean, Zeke's got to be your, safest, but he's also sucked. I feel like I had Dobbins higher in my rankings, and I still feel that way. Brown, I mean, is in the best matchup, but, I can't trust Marquise Brown at this point. Even if he blows up like that, he's giving you way too much pause. Terrell, too nice. I say Dobbins, but that's risky too because he's coming off COVID list. We don't know if he'll right back into that workhorse role we saw, but I think he's got a good bet for the end zone. They should have no problem, the Ravens moving the ball in this awful Cowboys defense. Whereas Elliott, could he be Zeke of old? Maybe, but we've got one good week in his last 6. I don't want to trust that. I'm going to go Dobbins, Terrell. Let me know which way you're leaning. Best of luck. You got to trust your own gut and die on your own sword, but mine would be Dobbins there. I lost by only 10. Yep, I'm with you, Mitch. Brutal. No buy or first place. You're still in. Yeah, so I can only play too small of a violin for you, Mitch, because mine knocked me out of the playoffs, and it's a gut wrencher. But at least you're still in. Getting the buy is always nice, but you'll get there. The one league I missed the playoffs because of Gibson. Yeah, that's tough. I was trying. Oh, okay. So you should still be positive, Mike. That's a great season. Sucks to miss any playoffs, but to have 3 buys, that's a pretty good hit rate right there. You think the Pats beat the Rams? I found you guys through Facebook. Oh, nice. We popped up as a first, so that must be the geography or something helping that location. Sweets. So glad you popped up. And I'm glad we're a blessing. It's a blessing to have fans like you, Juan Pena, that show up and ask questions and interact with us all the time. So thank you so much. Glad you found us, brother. And I do think the Pats can beat the Rams. Yes, I think they're cooking, man. I think this Pats team could get hot. Maybe I'm just now a psycho, now my fantasy teams are shit the bed. Maybe I'm just going to go hardcore, delusional Pats fan. Usually I don't have to be delusional with my fandom. But they play hard defense, as we just saw. And they can run the ball. Good defense, run the ball. That can match up with some of these pretty boy teams pretty well. The Rams being one of those pretty boy teams. So I like it. And we got to stay out in LA. The travel time impacts them more than impacts us. This is a fantasy podcast, not a Pats podcast. But yeah, I like our shot. The short week, that's when Belichick's at his best, Juan. And so glad again you found us. Help others find us. If we were a blessing to you that you're not going to face, that's the one way that you can really help us out. Todd Exotic, my man, help. Need running back 1, 2, 3. Damn. You got how many am I benching out of all these guys, Todd? That's all your starters essentially. My chances to make it the next round are sketchy at best, but you never know. So you got one more week. So you're semis. You're in the semis. Well, I love Johnny Taylor against the Raiders, as we talked about. I think you got to have Deontay and Lockett and A.J. Brown. So now it comes down to the running back too, between Gio, Gurley, Booker. I'm leaning Gurley. I think he's got a good bet for a touchdown this week, Todd. So we're benching Booker and Gio as of right now. Last one for my man Juan. I got Marco below you. I got to hit Marco too. Do I drop Edmonds for either Adrian Peterson, Tim Patrick, or Cutie? I already have Robinson, Kamara, Taylor. Your wide receivers are Julio, Claypool, Juju, and Landry. Oh, man, yeah, you got pretty damn good depth at the running back spot. And once once Swift is back, AP's not going to be much. So I would lean for Cutie or Patrick. I would go Cutie first, then Patrick. Just in case, Julio has some flare up. Those Steelers, as you say, can be frustrating. I would get Cutie is where I would go there. My man Marco, let's do it. Gibson broke my heart, but Sanders or Gallman going forward this week and beyond. So at least you're going on beyond. It broke your heart for a week, yes, but at least you're still living there, Marco. Tempted to run Sanders with Hurts. Yeah, it's going to be intriguing. I have Sanders, as you see. I'm going to go Gallman myself. am intrigued to see what this Eagles offense does. And if Sanders becomes a bigger part of it, but his snap share has been so sketchy. I do think Hurts can help that team turn around, but the Saints is a very tall asking price there. So let's go now into wide receivers, folks, and look at your points against. So Cowboys, Seahawks, Vikings, Falcons, Jaguars, the top five. Cleveland, especially as of late with no Denzel Ward, have been getting destroyed. Titans, Detroit Lions, no surprise there. For your top 10, the Bucs have also worked their way up into the top 10 after being one of the stingier defenses to start the year. So that's good to note for potential shootouts. Yeah, your Rams for the Pats this week. Oh, boy. Ravens, football team, Bears, and Chiefs. Also, the Panthers been pretty locked down, especially as of late. Patriots, bottom 7, Broncos, Chargers, rounding that out there. So let's now get into our rankings here. I mean, it's at every point, it's Devante Adams by himself, a tier alone. He's just too freaking damn good. Loved that I had him on DraftKings this week. The Jets are pretty damn close up there. So DK at number 2, I have nothing against that, nor, Tyreek Hill. Keenan Allen should also crush it against Atlanta. Big rebound spot for him and Herbert this coming week. And then it comes down to, Calvin Ridley against the Chargers. I like. You got A.J. Brown. The one thing, again, working against him is, one, Corey Davis is a monster. And the second would be they might just crush Jacksonville and not need him. And he's got that ankle thing going on. A little bit nervous about A.J. Brown compared to the ECR here. I prefer, Allen Robinson with no Bradley Roby. Oh, yeah, light that one up. Lockett in a great spot for the big plays. And I got to have my Vikings and Diggs, obviously, in there. I would say this is a tough one to sift through. Honestly, I'd prefer these Vikings guys. Again, the ankle, the too easy of a matchup for A.J. Brown type of thing. I really think Lockett could go berserk, but I got to have these Vikings guys are just so damn steady. And I do think the Bucs are going to put up their points. That game's going to be a fun one. Sunday at 1. That should be one that you circle for the DraftKings lineups, folks. A lot of aerial action coming there. So we got our God, Dante Adams, your ridiculous slate-breaking receivers, your quality wide receiver 1s, now your kind of quality 2s. Let's get through this. I mean, McLaurin should be in this tier, but goddamn, Alex Smith has just kind of ruined his value. Let's pump up Deontay. I mean, Deontay honestly almost belongs in this tier. Just because it's so congested and you have those injury concerns every week, but my goodness, that guy's a stud. I think, Evans, I like Evans to eat this week. I'm going to bump Woods down just a little bit. And I see your question here. Woods should just be fine against New England. He should be fine, yes. 11 targets, every single week. But worth considering when you got the Vikings matchup for your Bucs guys. I love Robbie Anderson, especially if the COVID list remains with DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel both on it. You'd have Robbie Anderson probably right up here at 15 if that remains the case. This seems about right. I do want to give a little love to Corey Davis for what he's been doing. This year's Devontae Parker. I have a feeling we got one of those stretch runs, those crazy, crazy stretch runs. And then we got, alrighty. I don't love Parker in this matchup, really, and just in general. I'd rather have Debo. Didn't come through quite like I hoped, but gotta have Ayuk. Claypool. I'd rather have Cooks even in this tougher matchup. MJJ, baby. We'll see what happens with Galladay, but he is just a stud when he's the guy. I think Chark right outside this tier. Alongside A.J. Brown, Antonio Brown. As much as I like these other two guys a little bit more, Antonio's in a good spot too this week. Versus Minnesota. They might come out just slinging it to him out of the bye. Tyler Boyd, I hate the quarterback situation, but Dallas is the most generous. So welcome on back. I think Beasley has to get bumped up for after what he did last night. And that's where Pittsburgh, the slots where they're most susceptible. So he's in a good spot. Cutie. I like TY though right now. Bumping Tim Patrick up. Pittman, good spot for him. Oh, Crowder needs to be higher. Seattle, the worst against receivers. And he just fresh off a 2 TD day back with his boy Darnold. Yeah, I'm going to be way higher on Jamison Crowder this week. That means I should probably be higher on Mims. See, I'm not CeeDee Lamb. I love CeeDee Lamb. I hate his situation, but I think that's about right. I'm going to bump T. Higgins up, though, because he's a baller in a great matchup. I guess I didn't bump him that high. Seems about right. I'll let Marquise Brown sneak in here. Even above CD. Let's see what he does tonight. Can he string a couple together? Because if so, I could bump him up to this 30 range, no doubt. I much prefer Allen Lazard to a lot of these guys, actually. Mike Williams against Atlanta, though. Okay, I forgot that matchup was on the slate, so give me him getting this bump up there. I think Daniel Jones is back. Shepard's in a very good rebound spot. I'm going to rank him as if he is. All righty. And then you got Kirk will rebound. Why is Judy this high? He shouldn't have. He's so good. Yes, okay. Is that why? Sure. But when his quarterback just hates him, what's going on there? Down here, just to pick up some last, matchup guys. I do think Jalen with Jalen. Maybe I'm just continuing to try to overhype him. I like Gabriel Davis. Don't like Myers against Ramsey, most likely. I like Hollywood Higgs. Not seeing anyone down here that I'm like, I gotta send shooting up my ranks. We'll see what happens with Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. But that's looking doubtful. I'll bump up Rager. One more ride, Rager. Come on. I like Mooney too. I might as well just bump Judy down. I don't like him at all. All righty, folks. That's what I got for wide receivers. I'll do a deeper dive to these, hopefully if you're watching this, you're in your playoffs, you're probably not considering anything too hard down here. Sanders could bounce back. Nah, there's nothing down here. DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, the ones that are big up in the air that we got to track due to the potential COVID outbreak in Carolina. So let me now pull up my tight ends and get back to your questions. We got a bunch coming in. Nice. Good to see. Bambo. Would you rather have Thielen or Calvin Ridley rest a year at flex? Great question, Bam. I think I prefer Ridley, just the bigger freak athlete. Like, Thielen's so good in the red zone, but his floor is just always kind of lower due to if they can run that clock out, they're going to run the clock out. I don't believe Minnesota's schedule is all that great, Bam. You can let me know, and I can help you out a little bit more. But I do think I prefer rest of season. I prefer Ridley over Thielen. But that's close. It's a really close one. So good question there. And again, guys out there, if you don't mind hitting that like button, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, retweets and shares, dropping this in any groups you're in, anything of that nature. Let us get to more questions. Always so great to help us get discovered, Wolfpack. Let's finish this year off strong, baby. We got Todd Exotic. Gurley has a great first name, so he will go. Absolutely. I think you got to go with him for Todd Exotic's sake. Wood should be fine. Oh, yeah, we covered that one while I was doing my receivers, Mitch. What's your thoughts on playing a weaker team to try to get a better matchup in the playoffs, Pat? Logically, does it make sense? Yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying, like, you tank a game, essentially, so that way your playoff schedule it is more favorable down the stretch. I see it. I see the logic. I think that also pisses off the fantasy gods beyond all belief. It creates horrible fantasy karma, and I don't think it's going to work out. So I personally would never do that. And you just have too much pride, right, as an owner. Get the wins. Like, you want your locker room thinking losing's okay because it's a schedule-wise? Come on. Nobody should ever go into the fantasy playoffs like that. So I would never do it myself. What do you think of Gaskin and Mostert's role? It doesn't look like Gaskins is too crowded. We'll see what happens when everybody's back. Yeah, because he had no competition this week. I'm more worried about Mostert's role. Jeff Wilson looked good. He's running hard. He's more involved at the goal line. So I like Gaskin a little bit more. Do I stick it out with Gaskin, Jacobs, and Chubb, or shoot on a trade with Gaskin, Thielen, and T. Higgins for Dalvin? That's a tricky one. It depends on how important that depth is to you. That's not an unfair offer for Dalvin. That's how good Dalvin is. Your running backs are pretty solid, and depth does become important this time of the year. Like, it does and it doesn't. You can only start 15 guys, I get it, but one injury can also kill you. So how important is that depth? Like, who are your receivers without Thielen? Higgins, to me, is kind of borderline useless. So it's really Gaskin and Thielen for Dalvin. I would do that. I'd probably do that one. But you're putting a lot of eggs into one basket, and so if something happens to Dalvin, that could also screw you, especially if Thielen's a huge part. If you have good receivers, though, especially, I would definitely do that. Would you start Gabriel Davis over Miles Sanders, Brian Martinez? Oh, boy. That's how far we've fallen with Miles Sanders, huh? I'd probably be more intrigued to see what Sanders does with Jalen Hurts this week, but I can't say that with like a ringing endorsement by any means. Ugh, it's ugly. 8-team work league. Flex Chubb versus Ravens or Lockett versus Jets? Gotta go Chubb, Marcos. Gotta go Chubb. That guy is running like an absolute monster down the stretch here. Afraid of Dominance coming? Yeah, I get the concern. Any other and Brown can get more targets. I see that with Andrews out. I don't think there's any other receivers out there like on the COVID list for them. So Dez, Duvernay, it doesn't really matter anyways, right? So I don't mind. I don't if you're feeling a big Marquise Brown game, the narrative's there, Terrell. Totally get it. You're also dependent on a quarterback also coming off COVID. So if that's your worry, then what do we do? And then your worry with Zeke is, well, he's just flat out sucked the last few weeks. So I'm going Dobbins, but it's not. It's certainly up in the air. There's no. I wish I had one that I could be like, this is it. You go this. I feel fully great about it. You can blame me if it's wrong, but I don't. All of those guys are so close to me. How is Diggs going to be moving forward? Hayden asked. I think fine. I get the schedule is not great, but Diggs is such a baller. Like you saw some of those routes last night. He's crazy. I'm all about Diggs, no doubt about it. Crowder over AB. I keep going back and forth, but I see like Crowder more, says Cody Hawks. Yeah, I do like Crowder a bit more this week, but they're both in good matchups, Cody. So, I mean, it's within like 3 to 4 spots. That could change as the week develops, but I'm feeling pretty good about Crowder. A 2-touchdown day. Now he gets Seattle. They're going to have to throw, and they're throwing against the worst secondary in the league. Like, that's all good to me. Dalvin rest of the season, I love him. I mean, it's Dalvin Cook. I know his schedule's not great, but I absolutely love him. So I'm there. I also saw Lamar Jackson's video IG feed, and he had M. Brown in the passenger seat. Okay, hey, there you go. I'll take any narrative I can get Terrell Too Nice. Maybe that's the thing you need to just hit yes on Marquise Brown. The fact that they rode together to the game. I mean, hey, I'll take it. I've bought it on IG hype videos before, and it's panned out for me, and it's bit me in the ass. Let me know what you decide, and I'll send you the good vibes either way. I have nothing riding on tonight's game, so best of luck, Terrell. Let me know what you decide. My pick's still Dobbins, but it seems like you're rolling Hollywood, you gotta trust your gut and just let it rip. Then, what defense we'll get to defenses in a second. Bailey, why don't we start getting on in there? Bam, I'll answer your trade question, and we'll get back to the rankings. But keep the questions coming in, guys. I have DK, Devante Adams, Thielen, Corey Davis, T at wide receiver, but running backs. So, I mean, yeah, I think you make this deal. Like, as good as Thielen is, you have DK and Devante, and Davis and T can rotate at 3, no doubt. I'm sure there's like QDs or them available. I would pull this trigger and just hope Dalvin stays Dalvin. It's a tricky call because his schedule is not great. I would say, could you do something like that for a Derrick Henry, where he's a steamroller and a great matchups? Like Aaron Jones is in great spots too. I honestly might have those guys higher rest of the season because Dalvin's schedule is not great. But at the end of the day, Dalvin's Dalvin, and I think I pulled that trigger. All righty, guys. So tight end points allowed. The Jets, fresh off of giving up 50 to Darren Waller, are now the most. Browns second, Bengals, Bears, and Falcons rounding out your top 5 in points allowed for tight ends, all above 10 points. So great spots. For the Jets, you got the Seahawks. Who cares about Disley or Hollister? The Browns this week are facing off as a good streamer. Who do the Browns get this week? We'll get in the rankings and we'll find out. Bengals also good matchups. There are a few that you just got to avoid. The Colts being one of them. 49ers, Steelers, Pats, and Dolphins. Look at all these other 6 points per game. The Packers, Cardinals, Dolphins, all that. So tough matchups. First, a lot of tight ends out there, but let's find out. Yeah, so Dolphins are a tough matchup, but boo-hoo. Travis Kelce's your number 1 tight end. There's no doubt about it. Then Darren Waller has to be your tight end too. He's just so damn good. As good as the Colts are against tight ends. They erase them. So maybe this does put TJ Hawkinson, the only other like genuinely consistent guy, a little bit above him. I have no complaints with how the experts have ranked their tight ends, though, from the first 5, given how bad Detroit is against everything. Hunter Henry gets Atlanta, a bottom 5 team. So I like that. I'm going to go I got to see who has the Bengals and Browns this week. Cleveland, Mark Andrews. So if Mark Andrews is playing, I mean, he's right up here. If he's playing, he'd be a smash right into your DraftKings, into all lineups against that Cleveland soft defense. And then in terms of Cincy, you got Dalton Schultz, who I'll feel pretty good about. Now, Goddard's in a tough matchup, but come on, guys. Like, Goddard's been rolling. What will he do with Jalen Hurts? I don't know, but could it really be that much worse than Wentz? Like, oh. Gronk against Minnesota is also a good spot. In the case of the dropsies for Ebron, one of the most generous teams in tight ends is Buffalo. If I'm not mistaken, they were like 6 on this list. Ooh. Yep, right there. It's 6. Exactly 6. Jags, a generous team, too. They get Ferkser, most likely. So let's bump good old Anthony up. Noah Fant against Carolina. Good defense, but he's steady. He's athletic. I mean, Logan Thomas has become one of the better tight ends in the league lately. I think Gesicki, coming off a game where he roasted with Tua, get some bonus points. Bam. And this seems about right. Ferkser I might be a little too high on compared to like Logan Thomas and them. But yeah, this, high-end tight end 2s, last-ditch tight end 1s for your streamers. And then out of here, fuck Rudolph. What a loser. Yeah, that's about right. Is Cole Kmet? Yeah, I'm liking Cole Kmet. If I'm down here in the streamers, you need a tight end streamer. I'm looking at him. I think Jared Cook. So we'll make like a last possible starters. I don't know if I put Higbee in there. Hooper might find a touchdown. It's too bad the Seahawks guys are useless because that matchup against the Jets would be delicious. All righty, let's move on to defense. Let's answer some questions before we get that. So this was you explaining that. So when's Breeze coming back? Because it is absolutely, as you say, Hayden fucking up Kamara. Totally. They're saying it could be as early as this week. I imagine with Taysom Hill playing as well as he is with the team on 8, 9 straight wins, like they're probably just going to keep rolling. I wouldn't expect to see him till next week, but yeah, that would certainly help Kamara out for damn sure. Need a buy in the worst way with Gibson, Sanders, Clyde. Do you have a buy? I hope so. And this is what you need. Lamar, Zeke, Tucker under 45. Every time I've wanted the under for Lamar, Brian, that's never been a winning formula for me. So good luck. I think Zeke's not going to do much for you against you, and Tucker, this offense should probably put up some points. So I'd be a little bit nervous about that. Last minute IDP start help. I have Jalen Smith. He wasn't great the last days. I could still drop him. Honestly, Dennis, I don't play any IDP. I would probably go for the tackles, which would be Patrick Queen, right? Like I don't want to pretend to know exactly what I'm doing with that, but I do know Queen is one of the top tacklers on that squad. And I know the defensive backs from what I know is like the riskiest one to go with. So I would probably, I don't know. You know the stats better than me. I don't know much about IDP. I'm sorry. I wish I could give you better advice. All righty. Defenses, which are crucial. I'm going to go, they're facing a new exciting quarterback, but the Saints have been rolling. So they're tough to not have towards the top here. I do think Carolina, 17 and 18 in their last 2 weeks, and now get Denver, the second most points allowed to defenses. Great spot for them. Tampa Bay in a decent spot. The Titans get the Jags. That's fine. San Fran against Washington without Gibson, but Washington doesn't turn it over. They play some pretty good ball, and San Fran's D is not that good. I would get Pittsburgh, even though they got a little bit smacked around. I would keep them up here. I like the Patriots the way they're cooking right now. Short week. I mean, the Cowboys get Cincinnati with Brandon Allen at quarterback like that. That can be nice. Colts, Raiders. Yeah, Colts have been a great deal all year, so I like that. I think Washington's – there's some decent options out here, folks. I would rather have Washington than San Fran, I think, at defense. And over Kansas City, what have they done lately? Any other good defenses down here? I mean, Giants have been picking up the fantasy points. I like the Texans. Anything against Trubisky, you could get some points and turnovers. Yeah, your Packers against Detroit, though. There are some like genuine, like 5 through 15 or all that like quality, get them started. So you're going to be able to find defenses on your waivers this week. That's for sure. Even the Cardinals get the Giants. I mean, that's a good spot for them. This is a good week for defenses. I don't see any others that I really want to change here. So you got, 16 viable number one options at defense. And we'll sort those out more as the week develops and we hear about injuries and whatnot. But we will get through that. Of course, Dennis Stevens, I will always be honest, if nothing else. But yeah, maybe Queen. I don't know exactly how those points work. So let's just do kickers real quick for the shits and giggles that they provide. Young Hui Koo, always the top kicker. No doubt about it. I think Jason Myers is a loser. I don't want him at my top spot. Suck Up is great. Minnesota, these guys are your tops. Not Jason Myers. He's never had a big day. And then we got J-Mo. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Zeke Dobbins and Ravens D down 30. Ooh, winning in. I like your chances, but I mean, Zeke's going to make that come down to the wire. I think Ravens D could honestly be your high scorer there. You might be able to get 30 with just Dobbins and Ravens D. So if Zeke comes back, it's all gravy from there. But yeah, I like your shot. It's a true coin flip. And I totally agree. The first and last Cowboys game you ever want to watch all the way through. Now that Dak's not there, it's been a horror show all year. So yes, well said, J-Mo. Well said. Good luck, brother. I hope you take down. Let me know how it goes. All right, kickers. I mean, again, who gives a shit? It's kickers. But let's keep going. I like Greg the Leg against Cincy. He'll boot some big ones in. Gano has been great for the Giants, but I'd rather put my faith in like Bass. He's been a stud, like 4 or 5 straight double digits. I don't love Prater because they could get blown out, but I do like Crosby. Big boy Sly. Love it. He's got to get a higher rating out here. Nick Folk. I mean, booting 50 yards like it's his job. Come on. No love for Jason Sanders, like Younghoe Koo Light? Absolutely. Guy's been putting up 18 a week and nobody likes to respect it. All righty, folks. There's your kickers. I'm not going to spend that much time on them. And that's going to wrap up our ranking show, Wolfpack. So thank you so much for those of you that tuned in. That means you're probably in your playoffs. So best of luck. Tomorrow I will be live with my man, The Truth, for your Week 14 semifinals playoffs. Your burning questions, your sit starts, which ones the matchups to target, which ones to avoid, all that good stuff that you need to know. So come on down to the Fantasy Football Fullback Dive tomorrow, live show. Get all your questions answered. Let me know how you did this week, all that good stuff. I hope to see you there. You can find all our content, these rankings included at RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed your fantasy wolves, also on an app that you could download too, which we're continuing to develop and improve by the week. So Wolfpack, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Hope to see you at some more broadcasts, and I hope to see you with your titles at the end of the season. Peace out.